Hi, my name is Dr. Desai, and today I'm going to be showing you a new technique for creating a emergence profile in Exocad, whether this be for a Pontic site development for a bridge or for implants. Today we'll be focusing on implant instead of the bridge. So what we'll be looking for is something like this. So this is a case that I did some time ago, and at the time we actually freehanded this case, and it came out fine. We had a acceptable result. However, it took a lot of time in achieving that. So I wanted to create a method that's a lot faster, easier, a lot quicker for anyone to use it on the day of surgery. And there are two different workflows to it right now. This is the very first one where you're designing the custom healing abutment button. That's what I'm calling it. It's a healing cap that's customized, shaped like a button, and we will be using an insertion jig to position this. There is a second workflow which I'll be focusing on a different video that I'll be uploading likely tomorrow. That will focus on if you have a scan of the implant position on the day of implant surgery, how can you achieve a perfectly designed custom healing cap that you can print the same day using a Ferguson mini plate or many other printers that we have. But using the Ferguson mini plate, we typically get a print time of about 8 minutes or less for a customized healing cap. And then you can print on the same day, deliver it in about 10 to 12 minutes after washing and curing the custom healing cap. So let's see how this case turned out. So that's the implant, and we achieved a acceptable result, fairly decent symmetry of both the teeth, and the patient was happy. I was happy, but it took a lot of effort to do this. So let's focus on an easier way today. I will be using Exocad, and this is the Exocad 3.1, which is the latest version as of recording. Let's get started. So I'm going to choose a client, and we're going to call this test 5, and we'll go ahead and click on number 8. So we'll design this one for number 8, and we'll be calling it an anatomic crown, and you'll see how I'll be modifying the process for an anatomic crown to convert it into a healing cap, and we'll click OK. Now any other tooth, we want to select it and click on a bite splint, because we'll also be making a insertion jig for the custom healing abutment or the custom healing button, and click save. And then we click design. I'll be explaining the steps along the way, so it will take a little bit longer than it typically takes me, but if you practice it well enough, it really should be a process that you can do in less than 5 minutes. So we load our data. You see that it's upside down. I'm just going to use my right click button to turn it around, and that's the insertion path that we want to see, or the scan data orientation that we want to see. Now, before we actually design the bite split bottom, I'm going to go ahead and extract it. So we'll click on expert mode, right click, and click extract. Now you could, if you wanted to, save the extracted tool as a virtual pre-op. There is no reason for me to do that. I'm just going to click no copy and click on the tooth that I like to extract. So we left clicked on number 8, and this is the beauty of Exocad. So you see how well it really does extract it and preserves the anatomy of gingiva like no other software. And we just click OK. If you wanted to, you could change the amount of gingiva it collapses to 2 millimeters or 4 millimeters. But I find that 2 millimeters works pretty well. And then click OK. So the next thing you want to do is toggle back into the wizard mode. And let's just follow the prompts for creating the bite split bottom. So all it's doing right now is creating a blockout model for the insertion jig. Now, right after it's done, before we actually draw the margins for the bite split, we will be going automatically into the design mode for the crown. So exocad thinks we're making a crown, so it's asking us to detect the margin. Let's actually toggle the color off for some time, so you can actually see how nice and crisp that anatomy of the gingiva comes out to. All we need is just a couple of clicks around so we can get a nice outline, and it does a pretty good job tracing the border. Now this is actually really good. This is the perfect shape that we really want to see. That being said, I do like to modify this just a hair. I don't want it to be encroaching all the way up there. I actually like to go ahead and select, you know, modify this up to about here. So all I did was just change the margin to a little bit less invasive on the papilla. So this is still plenty of support, but we will be able to achieve, in fact, I may even go a hair more, and that looks about right to me. So this is our outline of the custom healing cap. Now we go ahead and click next. And this is the step where we will be defining a few characteristics. First thing we want to do is change this little arrow that's the insertion axis, and you'll see why we will be doing so. So right now it's trying to have an insertion axis in this plane. We want to go straight down, so something like this, and then just click set current view, or you could even move the ball, but it's just far easier to click set current view. Now, this is our new insertion axis, and you'll see why this is important. So you see three colors right here. The center color with the cement space, we actually don't really care about that. We want to make it down to 0. So now we are down to basically 2 colors. You see the green inner color, and then there's a periphery, which is the border. Now this is what we want to be modifying for our custom healing cap. So what we want to do is click on the border, and I teach this in my course on what everything here means, but just a quick explanation is this is the way the exocad software is designing the border of this crown. To make it simple, number 1, horizontal, going to make it down to 0. And you see a change going on right here as we did that. Number 2 and 3, you want to crank it up all the way. So what we're doing is, instead of it being 0.3 millimeters angled, I want it 2 millimeters. And the angle, you see it's 60 degrees right now. We want to change this to 90 degrees so it comes straight up. And we just modified the crown module to make a custom healing cap. You see the arrow? The arrow is what the software uses to calculate the 90 degrees. Now, if the arrow was facing tilted, the whole custom healing cap would be a little bit tilted. Now just click next. You want to quickly position a tooth at this point. It doesn't really have to be perfect, just anywhere really is fine, because we don't really care about the tooth in general. All we really want to do is smoothen it down. So we just crank up the strength and brush, hold the shift button down, and keep pressing shift until we smoothen it down. It will, no matter how much you smoothen, you will not be able to affect the borders of it. And there you have it. This is your custom healing abutment, which we'll be using for implant. So this is basically like a button, which is why I call it a healing a button. And we will be doing a bite splint for this to use as an insertion jig. So now we're into the bite splint wizard. What we want to do is mark our outline for our bite splint. I actually don't want it to go close to that, and you'll see why in a few seconds. I actually want it to be far away so it's easier to cut when I want to. So let's see, that's a proposal, looks pretty good. And you could modify your bite splint the way you like it, but this is the way I like it. And what I want to do is go ahead and click next and let it merge.